Newstalk on demand. Interruption-free audio where you want it, when you want it.
So this is taking a little from potash and giving it to
the challenge here is the fiscal responsibility of the platform, not whether or not any particular ideas presented are good ideas. We're at $3.1 billion in platform spending. We know that the forecasted surplus over the next 4 years is less than $900 million. So you're going to have to either gut the potash industry with a massive tax.
What you need to do is take a little bit more. You need to take a little bit more from potash. It's a nickel on the dollar to a dime.
But it's not a little bit more. You're going to triple the taxes up to $700 million, and you'll change a deal that Mr. Calvert made with the potash companies that is now have them expanding in the province in mid-deal.
When potash was $200 a ton.
That's not how the province does business.
Talking to the former premier, he says if he were there, he would do exactly what we're doing.
I let you finish, Mr. Lingenfeld.
Raising it by a nickel to a...
All right, so a good exchange last night, and I think in many respects in this leaders' debate, that was a crystallizing issue right there. And it began with Dwayne Lingenfelter doing this laundry list. You know, if you're in university and you have a child, and we'll save this money, and then there's a chicken in every pot. I mean, the guy was just naming, social giveaways. But even he began to crystallize, as did Brad Wall, the whole question around resource royalty revenue. Mr. Lingenfelter says he'll double what we take from the potash companies now. He says it's a nickel to a dime on the dollar. Mr. Wall says not necessarily so. So this, I think, is the takeaway from last night. I'm John Gormley. Welcome, and thank you for checking in here. Boy, did I have one of those interesting days yesterday. Finished the radio show, jumped in the beast, went to Swift Current, did a speech for an hour. In the middle of it all, Sun TV News phones and says, can you come on and do a little bit on their national TV show pre-debate? So I'm sitting in Swift Current on a service road on my cell phone doing the thing on Sun News Network. Then I jump back in the car, zip home, and listen to the debate on the radio. I tried to picture the leaders. I had Brad Wall with a pocket puff. I had the wrong color on the tie. I had Dwayne Lingenfelter in an orange tie. I was right on that one. But again, there is something to be said for seeing it. I watched it later on video, but the listening is different than the seeing. So I was a little handicapped because as I was sort of marking my mental notes, I was only listening to the leaders. I wasn't watching them. Was there a winner in the debate last night? And what were the issues you saw? 1-877-332-8255. Charles and everybody else, hang on. You are here in moments. But I want to begin with Professor Joe Garcia, political scientist, University of Saskatchewan, and a guy we turn to regularly on this radio program for advice, insight, information, and the powers of skilled political observation. Joe Garcia, thanks for taking our call.
Thanks, John.
You watched the debate, I assume, pretty intently. What did you take away?
Well, several things, but first and foremost that either you could say there was no winner or they both won. I think that they both accomplished their objectives, and in terms of the level of support and respect that they got, it was probably mainly in their respective camps. Secondly, it was a classic Canadian movie, and that is lots for thought, but not many of those exciting moments when people really get thrilled and really cheer about something happening. So it was fairly predictable, highly controlled, stage managed both from the candidates' end and also stage managed from the media end. Some people didn't like the format. I thought it was quite good. I thought that it did allow coverage of a lot of issues and allowed everyone to have a chance to sort of to ask some questions and probe some questions in the ability of the media people to come in, and also in the ability of the two leaders to sort of speak to certain issues as well.
Yeah, I'm with you. I thought, 45 seconds to make a direct answer to a question, in the world of sound bites is okay. The 2 minutes, you know, and I know from doing commentary on the radio, you can get an awful lot said in 2 minutes. And I thought there were some very good exchanges between the leaders that had to be cut off by the moderator, but I think you saw some distinguishing features. And let me bring you into this, particularly on resources. Is that the takeaway here?
Well, definitely, but it wasn't so much the fact that they were talking about resources. It was what they were saying about resources that was important, and in a sense, that issue helped each of them to try and distinguish each other and their parties from each other. And I think that definitely. What we've seen in this campaign and what we saw in the debate last night is that Mr. Lingenfelter and the NDP have basically decided to try and, I would say, consolidate their traditional base of support on the center-left. They're definitely trying to, insofar as they're trying to capture people on the right, it's people who are disaffected with the government. Either they feel underserved or underrepresented or underfunded or unappreciated. And we saw that kind of... so it's a rainbow coalition that they're trying to speak to, but it's definitely has a reddish hue to it that...
reddish hue.
to it that, that really speaks to the social gospel much more than we've heard it for a while.
Well, yeah, okay. Of course, I'm a lot more outspoken on matters of left and right than you are. You are the quintessential moderate. I mean, when I heard him literally say the words "share the wealth," I hadn't heard that, in a good public forum since the Blakeney government of the 70s. I mean, I was waiting next for "make the rich pay." That was pretty clearly, I thought, an appeal to the core vote.
Well, we also heard it from the Divine government about, Share Saskatchewan or something to that effect.
Well, that was the fair share lunacy of moving bureaucrats around.
But, well, absolutely. I think that they basically, the NDP is trying to make sure that they consolidate their support and that people who are likely to support them are gonna turn out. That's been the case with their ads. That was definitely the case last night. That it's a particular group. I think it's probably, if I may say so, a well-run campaign given where they find themselves. I think they're probably doing the smart thing in trying to differentiate themselves and still appeal to a particular spectrum and certainly to their base, and saying you should get out because it does make a difference on certain kinds of issues. At the same time, I think the Sask Party and is trying to consolidate its base, its support, definitely with the corporate sector. It's trying to almost, I think, establish kind of a long-term historic relationship, saying, look, you don't want that group to come to power because they're going to ask a lot more of you and put more restrictions on you. And so, we're the best show in town, and we hope you stick with us not only for the short term but for the long term. And certainly the big corporate entities might be inclined to do that based on what they're hearing.
Always good having you by, my friend. Thank you.
Thank you very much, John.
Joe Garcia, political scientist, University of Saskatchewan. So Joe says no winners in last night's debate, or both winners, Brad Wall and Dwayne Lingenfelter. And that's the way I see it. I mean, this was an appeal to your basic core group, and I don't think anybody says it was a slam dunk for Premier Wall. If you liked Premier Wall before, you love him now. If you liked Dwayne Lingenfelter before, you love him now. Charles, thanks for hanging on, sir. The debate last night and all this talk about potash and royalties, how did you see it? Okay.
Well, first off, we know that NDP policy now is to break contracts that they established the last time they were in government. That's their policy. Now, if we look at they're wanting to double the tax rate, that'll probably kill the goose that's laying the golden egg in the long run. But following the original agreement, they gave us a statistic of 200. I can't remember if it was billion or million or what, but we started off at 200, and we were getting 5% of that. And then over the course of the contract so far, that's grown to over 500, and we're still getting 5% of that. So it's not like we're only getting 5% of the 200. We're getting the 5% of the 500, which means that our return, our royalty, has grown by over 2.5 times. And so that means we've more than doubled already what we're receiving for the province.
Well, Charles, and let's go one step further. 2008, which was the biggest year of revenue in the history of Saskatchewan, there was a time in 2008, briefly, when potash hit $1,000 a ton, right? And that's why we had windfall revenues from potash in 08 under this identical royalty scheme. 09 screwed up because everybody thought potash was going to both stay high and sell lots. Neither happened. But you're absolutely right. The more the price per ton of potash is under this royalty regime, the more Saskatchewan makes.
Absolutely. Now, if we see an NDP government take office, then automatically, like, the potash industry isn't going to wait until the royalty is officially put into place at double the rate. What they're going to do is they're going to start leaving the province immediately because they know that it is official policy that they're going to break the contract.
1-877-332-8255. So Charles says this potash royalty issue means something. One thing about the business community, and you don't have to be as big as the potash industry, I mean, they're big. You can be your business. You know your IT business that you're running with your husband? That one? Business people get a very good sense of where trends are developing. If the polls had a horse race on at the moment, I think you'd, with this kind of talk, already see, if not retrenchment, certainly a reluctance to spend new money. Because the NDP has made it very clear. Share the wealth, were the words said last night by Mr. Lingenfelter. I hadn't heard those words in a public debate in this province since the 1970s, when we took the multinational potash corporations and we took them over by nationalizing half of them. That's what happened here in 75. And share the wealth was spouted by the NFU. It was spouted by raggedy-ass Sask wheat pool delegates. It was spouted by the political left. It was spouted at the U of R. Saskatchewan has evolved and morphed in that time. But have we? I think that's the critical question. And there was talk last night about what people made. Now, of course, of particular interest was that Bill Doyle, the chairman of Potash Corp, or the president of Potash Corp. But boy, this is an interesting world to get into. When people want to take what you make and decide because they are a politician how much of what you make they will take and who they will give it to. I'm John Gormley. Hang on, callers. The debate last night. Was there a winner for you? And hey, by the way, it's open line where absolutely anything goes. Coming up later this hour, I am going to play the gentleman's rant. And I laughed out loud when I saw this earlier this morning on the web. It's on something that is ubiquitous in my life and yours. Everywhere you turn, it's there. The hipster. God, I'm tired of these hipsters. That and more coming up. This is News Talk Radio.
And we said, you said, I said, the province said, those resources belong to the people of the province. They don't belong to them more, disproportionately for one group versus the other, I don't think. They belong to everyone equally. We need to deal with these issues, but we need to make sure we're providing fairness.
That the way we're sharing our resources right now is that 95 cents of every dollar go to the shareholders and the CEO of the Potash Corporation, and nickel comes to Saskatchewan, and the First Nations kids are getting less than my child. And what I'm saying is we've got to do a better job. And just to say it's okay, the status quo is going to work. Look, the chief of police in Saskatoon says it isn't going to work. He says building more jails, the Harper-style prime minister solution to issues in our community is building more jails and hiring more police. You're going to spend the resource money one way or the other.
Part of the debate last night, I liked the format. Some people didn't. Each leader had 45 seconds to answer the question put to them. Then there was the 2 minutes of exchange. It was a civil debate. I thought both of the leaders were speaking directly to you and to me and to their supporters. And there were times they turned and got it on. And the moderator, Sheila Coles, did a great job. Had to jump in a few times to shush them or remind them the time was over. But all in all, it was what you expected. No knockout punches. If you were scoring it for points, and this is where I'm always interested in your take. Let's say you were scoring it. And you remember when you score boxing, it's how many times the glove makes contact. It's how many times you deflect certain punches. Would you have scored one or the other higher? 1-877-332-8255. Paul, you were disappointed in the debate. How come?
Hi, John. Yeah, I was very disappointed in the panel and whoever's choosing the questions that were shown. So many questions smacked of what can you do for poor me, or what can you do for poor us, and no questions or hardly touched on anything of really importance or anything of real depth, like how are we going to continue to grow our economy? How do we keep increasing our population? How do we keep increasing employment and reducing unemployment and reducing social assistance and that type of thing? Those weren't even touched.
That's a very good point, because when you get the macro stuff right, you begin to pull up people's lives. But you're absolutely right. We tend to sectorally kind of drill down, right? What will you do for me who fits this category? I'm elderly, I'm this, I'm a student, I'm a that. That's a good point.
And I don't know, even the reporters who were asking the questions, I thought they were a bit more intelligent than that, but they were very mundane type questions.
1-877-332-8255. Jack in Lumsden, how did you score the debate last night?
I thought it was a draw, John. I don't think there was much change, and I think the lines are drawn. And I guess I take an issue with your kind of glib remark about, Lingenfelder's proposals are really just a collection of social giveaways. If you look at control on rent increases, dental plan for children, tuition freeze for students, ed assistants get back in the classrooms to help
social,
people.
and social.
But you just say, they're all just giveaways. They're all rinky-dink.
I didn't say they're rinky-dink. Do you remember the last time we had the dental program? Every time an NDP government gets in, they bring in a dental program.
Yeah, who took it out, John?
The dental programs get taken away because they are costly, they are inefficient, and they're doing stuff you don't have to do as government.
John,
they're a gross overreach.
Calling John, where did the dental program get dismantled?
It got tossed out by the divine Tories, who saw it as a bloody waste of money, my friend.
It got tossed out in a hotel room by a collection of the Dental Association professionals who said, we want to make the money in our clinics, not in the schools.
So it was John. The dental conspiracy. Those dentists. Larry and Estevan, potash revenues, how do you see it?
Well, John, I see it, we live in a province of people who are so extremely generous, from building hockey rinks to Telemiracle, you name it. We have so much of our province has been built on the generosity of the people and generosity of the corporations. Now, if you're going to double the revenue sharing, I'm afraid a lot of that corporate structure and a lot of that corporate generosity is going to disappear.
All right, so your point is if you raise taxes to a point, in this case doubling them, you get less corporate philanthropy.
Well, I believe that very strongly, and what we're saying to them is you people don't know how to handle what you're going to hand out. You have no idea. We, as a government, we would know the answers.
1-877-332-8255. What do you say? Interesting issues last night in the debate. I didn't have a clear winner. I thought both of the leaders spoke to their core. They got their message out. But if you were scoring it, how would you see it? When we come back, more of your calls on the debate. Okay, and I promise I will play the gentleman's rant on hipsters. Next, it's Open Line only on Newstalk Radio. I'm John Gormley. Welcome back. It's Open Line. Hey, top of the hour, we continue with one of our political features we run every election campaign called the Three Gens. The single most popular name of women listening to John Gormley live is Jennifer. So we randomly picked three of our gens and we put them on as a political panel. Also, a little bit later, Candace Hepner, the Conservative MP, who has been trying to scrap the gun registry since she was elected, joins us to talk about getting her wish. Yesterday, a bill tabled that will do away with the long gun registry. That and more coming up. Okay, right now in Open Line, let me get this straight. Here's the deal. Here's the deal. Dwayne Lingenfelder repeated that several times. The fact is here on Open Line, we're talking about last night's debate. Maybe you scored it when you looked at points made, counterpoints made, engagement exchange. I didn't really see a clear winner. I thought Brad Wall did okay. He was a little more muted and cautious than normally I would think of Brad Wall as being, but he's the front runner. So of course he's going to be careful and safe. Even taking shots. We did the little shot on the splicing thing. Any more than that, you run the risk. Think of this, again, I hate to do the metaphor of boxing, but it really is apt. So you move in for a jab, and it's a jab you don't need to take. All of a sudden, you leave yourself open to a jab back. Think of the times he could have done a jab, and then if Lingenfelter was being fast, he counterpunches. And often it's the jab back that you get scored higher on, right? Because you didn't see the jab coming, but you defended yourself and shot for the opening. So Brad Wall was not going to overreach last night. Dwayne Lingenfelter, I think, engaged Premier Wall, but he had to be careful because if he swung for the haymaker, the big uppercut or the haymaker, then he looks too scrappy, too angry, too hot for TV. So they both were very much confined on what they could do. If you liked Dwayne Lingenfelter going into this thing, you loved him coming out. You liked Brad Wall, you loved him coming out. I think both of them ended up getting their core message to their core audience. What do you think? Debate last night. Okay, here's the other part I want to play right now. I laughed out loud when I saw the idea, then I watched the video and I hooted. I don't know about you, but I equate these guys to zombies. If you watch The Walking Dead like I do, or it's the only kind of horror movie I'll watch are zombies. You know why? Zombies move slowly. See, I hate the horror movies. The thing shows up fast. You can see a zombie coming for miles. Now, the problem is the zombies always win. Why? Because there's more of them than you, and they don't sleep. So, like zombies, the hipster is everywhere I turn. Who is the hipster? Well, he's a young guy, 20-something, 30-something, quite self-assured. Now, not always as informed as he thinks he is, but he's very assured. He's free-thinking. He's a nonconformist. He does the things that only he understands. Except he looks just like all the other hipsters. It's like a uniform. Big plastic glasses, either Wayfarers or the Clark Kent look, mustache, or preferably a scruffy little beard. V-neck t-shirts, super skinny jeans, and this sense that he's very unique. You see who I'm talking about? The hipster. Everywhere you turn, we're surrounded by them. So there's a web series called The Gentleman's Rant. And this is a place where gentlemen can just let loose on things they want to rant about. I've just tweeted, if you follow me at John Gormley Live, you'll just see it, a link to the latest of The Gentleman's Rant. And this week, the hipster.
I blame American Apparel and Urban Outfitters completely.
Just because you live in Brooklyn doesn't mean you're from Brooklyn, okay? You're from Iowa. Iowa.
Eat something, you wafy bastard. Your diet shouldn't be a part of your fashion. Leave that to the Victoria's Secret models.
Nobody wears a scarf in July. Nobody.
Very few people can pull off a mustache, and you're not one of them. Tom Selleck, he can pull off a mustache. Joseph Stalin. The Pringles guy.
You know what's hip? Wearing deodorant. Very in, very cool. You're a hipster, not a hippie.
Wait, what do all those tattoos on your forearm say? I'm a f***ing douchebag. Wow, that's surprisingly easy to read.
If your V-neck was any deeper, it'd be teaching transcendental literature and post-impressionism at UC Berkeley. You got a f***ing deep V, is what I'm trying to say. Real f***ing deep.
You can't honestly tell me you actually enjoy the taste of Pabst Blue Ribbon. I don't believe you. You're full of shit.
Hey, hipster black people, come on back. Come on back, all is forgiven. Just come on back. Come on.
Hey, you know what Sinatra never wore with the fedora? A f***ing flannel and skinny jeans.
Taking hipstamatic pictures doesn't make you retro. If you want to look like you live in the 80s so badly, get rid of your $400 smartphone and get AIDS.
Hipsters dress and act alike. But one thing they'll never do is conform.
All right, the gentleman's rant on the hipster. When will this trend go away? Like zombies, I turn around and silently they've snuck up on me. I'm surrounded by yet another hipster. I liked you better when your hair was just long and shaggy and you were channeling the 70s. Then all of a sudden you shave it off, grow the scruffy beard, put the big wayfarers on. No, I loved you better when you were doing the sheepdog look. I liked you better when you did the emo look. I liked you better when you did the preppy look. But no, they're all morphing into hipsters. Enough. Okay, that felt great. I couldn't believe other people felt as passionately as I did. And ditched the deep feed thing and fedoras with flannel. Yeah, okay. All right, back to your calls. 1-877-332-8255. Anything you want to talk about today. So the debate last night, did you see a winner? Did you see points scored? Did you see vulnerability on either of Brad Wall or Dwayne Lingenfelter, the Sask Party and NDP leaders? 1-877-332-8255. Hey, Jeff, how did you see the debate?
Yeah, I think that Brad Wall made some headway on this one. Like Dwayne, no matter how you slice it, if you sit there and you look, he wants to spend $3 billion. His numbers were under that, but I mean, if you look at the $3 billion, what are we going to be doing? We're going to be going back into debt. We're going to be going and putting this back so that everybody's going to have to pay for the next 10, 15 years to get our butts back out of it. You know, by putting, he wants to raise it from a nickel to 10 cents for the potash. How much money is that going to? The Potash Corp is now going to say, "Screw you guys. We're going to cut production. We're going to cut back." And then now your money's dropping down. What was the royalties last year? 200 and some, right?
Yep.
Okay, so a nickel, it's gone up. So your nickel is no longer a nickel. It's now pretty much doubled, right?
Well, sure. As price goes up, you get more on your royalties. But the issue here is bigger. This nickel and dime thing is easy. That's on the royalty portion. When you look at production taxes, yeah, but there's production taxes on top of that. There's other taxes. About 22% is the cost that you pay to government when you mine potash.
Right. So do you want okay, I'm probably not going to have to pay this debt off, but my kids are going to have to pay this debt off if Dwayne Lingenfelter wants to go back in there and start driving everything back in the hole.
Yeah, I see. The problem with this, and this is where I don't know how to put this delicately, so I shan't. I don't believe Dwayne Lingenfelter on these promises. There are too many of them. Tuition freeze, providing daycare spaces and then having a government subsidy for everybody to put their kid in government daycare, capped at $12 a day. So you'd have a universal daycare program, tuition freeze. Every kid would get a dentist who'd go to the school and fix their teeth. We tried that once before. Keep going with this. Every senior citizen, regardless of income, would get $500. And Dwayne Lingenfelter says, well, in Douglas Park, they all don't pay income tax. They're all... You got to be kidding. Many seniors are managing their income to try and minimize tax payable. A lot of seniors have worked hard all their life, and they pay their fair share. So, I mean, you've got all of this stuff. I just don't believe, if you waved a magic wand tomorrow and said to Dwayne Lingenfelter, hey, now you're a premier, do you really believe this chicken in every pot thing would come to pass? I just think there's way too much. I think this is more a vote for me because here's what I promised you approach. Callers, stand by. From Ralph to Shay to you, the debate, and I like the potash piece. I mean, I think we now have an issue that clearly distinguishes the two parties and the two leaders. 1-877-332-8255. I'm Gormley, only on News Talk Radio.
We're getting about a nickel on every dollar of sales. I'm talking about moving that from a nickel to a dime.
I'm John Gormley. The debate last night, lots of talk on nickels and dimes, but long story short, the potash issue. Mr. Lingenfelter says he will move up quite dramatically. In fact, he'll double the amount of royalties the potash industry pays. Mr. Wall, the premier, says the deal is the deal, and it was struck by an NDP government in exchange for $12 billion in capital spending, and province ought not to fool with that until the capital spending is done. Some thoughts by you. All right, let's get as many calls on as we can fit. James in Saskatoon, quickly, how did you see the debate?
I saw it as an infomercial debate. I thought nothing really new. We've seen for the past 4 years Brad and Walsh go back and forth, and I think this will be looked upon in the future as almost a lobotomy debate.
All right, Ralph in Gull Lake, how did you see the debate, sir? Hello, Ralph.
Yes, how are you?
Go ahead, please.
I'm not talking about the debate. I just want to talk about raising royalties on potash.
Yeah.
I think without a doubt it's a no-brainer. Raise the royalties. It's classic capitalism. What drives capitalism? Greed. If I could get a raw material for 10 cents on the dollar and sell it for $1, what a wonderful world I'd be in.
What if you can get it for 8 cents in Jordan, or in Jordan it would be 3 cents? What if you can get it in Israel? What if you can get it in 9 other countries in the world for less than here?
I'm betting that our infrastructure is a little better for getting it to the coasts and getting it to China, wherever the biggest user of potash is. And the other thing that is, just remember one thing: when the potash is gone, the corporation is going to be gone, and you're not going to get kissed. You're not even going to get said goodbye to.
Shay, the issue of potash royalties and how you saw this whole debate and the costing of the promises. How did you see it? Hello, Shay.
Hi. I'm sorry. The NDP got it very wrong, very, very wrong, and it's quite disappointing for them to be moving this kind of an issue. What we should be thinking about now is resource development, and we're not talking about potash alone. We're looking at oil and gas. We're looking at diamond and gold. We're looking at coal. Our system is still a little bit closed. We need players in the system. They are the one that's going to come in to create jobs. And for God's sake, no company is going to come in here just to come and make a loss. They want to come make gain, profit, and out of the profit, they're going to, employ people and develop what we have around here.
Yeah, good point. Let's go quickly. I'm moving really fast because now the lines have just gone crazy, which is the way we like it. Bonnie, the debate last night.
Well, I'm a Sask Party supporter, so I'll tell you that right up front. But I think that the big issue last night that was shown was the fiscal responsibility. I can't imagine how anybody can look at the world situation and not want to keep what we have here and manage it well, and not spend irresponsibly in this day and age.
All right, let's go to Ken in Saskatoon. Ken, impressions of the debate.
Last night, the production values were terrible, absolutely awful in a high-def world, and I thought I was back in the 70s because I want every politician to know you can't depend on commodity prices. They are completely random. You have no idea where they're going to be, and so you better take the most conservative estimates you can on what you can get out of there.
Okay, so your view was that Mr. Lingenfelter, by relying on it and wanting to double the royalties, was too reliant.
Oh, not just Mr. Lingenfelter. I just want everyone to know. Don't depend on them. They're nice to have. Pay down your debt with them.
All right, let's go to Kevin in Regina. Kevin, impressions of the debate.
Well, I, like Ken, I think the production was kind of curious. I noticed that when they were doing their on one another debates, or the 2-minute little blurb that they did against one another, they would always show a very distant profile view of Dwayne Lingenfelter. So you were watching him talk to the side, which is just craziness. I mean, how do you pay attention to anyone talking like that? And then when they went on Brad Wall, they would do that right on, blowing up, right up, shoulder head view. And I noticed they had this nice little purple background that matched his tie and everything. I just found that a little curious. John, as far as the no knockout punch, the fact of the matter is Dwayne isn't interested in winning the election, because if he wanted to, the knockout punch would be the Northwest Partnership Agreement, which...
All right, let's go to Greg in Regina. Greg, impressions on the debate.
Hi, John. Brad Wall all the way. The whole mentality of penalizing those companies by 100% royalty is just ridiculous. We have to partner with these companies. We have to be their friends. We have to move forward. If they're making a lot of money, we're going to be making a lot of money. All
right, callers, thank you. Boy, we got nearly every call covered, and as always, appreciate your feedback, and it is your passion, your thoughts that fuel this radio program. Coming up, we stay on politics for a little bit. The panel we call the Three Gens. Now, we have so many gens who listen to this show. We're actually bringing a new gen in today because one of our gens is at the office working. The Three Gens next on the debate and the midpoint of the election campaign. I'm John Gormley. This is News Talk Radio.